It started with a sound. At first, I thought I imagined it. The sharp, deliberate click, clack, echoing faintly down the long, empty school hallway. The sound of high heels. Except no one in my school wore heels. Not at night, and especially not in this building. I was a senior, 17, in part of the school's literature club. Every Thursday, we met in the old library wing. And since I was the president, I always stayed behind to clean up and lock the room. It wasn't unusual for me to leave long after sunset, carrying my books through the deserted corridors. But that night, as I turned off the last light in the library and slung my bag over my shoulder, I froze. Click, clack, click, clack. It was faint, but distinct. A woman's high heels striking the floor rhythmically, like someone pacing steadily through the silence. The sound grew clearer, echoing along the hallway outside the library. I held my breath. Our school was old, over 60 years, and students often joked about it being haunted. They said a female teacher had died here in the 1970s. Some said she jumped from the fourth floor. Others whispered she had been murdered. Every version of the rumor ended the same way. Her spirit never left. I never believed it, not until that night. I switched off the library lights quickly and opened the door. The corridor was empty. Fluorescent lights flickered faintly, buzzing. My footsteps made no sound against the linoleum, but the sound continued. Click, clack, click, clack. It was coming from the stairwell at the far end of the hall. Slow, deliberate, like someone walking down from the top floor. I whispered to myself, probably just a teacher. But my chest was tight, my instincts screaming otherwise. The sensible thing would have been to leave, head straight for the school gate, and never look back. But curiosity, or maybe fear, rooted me to the spot. I stood frozen, straining my ears. The sound didn't fade. It grew sharper, louder, almost closer. Click, clack, click, clack. I forced myself to step forward, peering down the long corridor. At the far end, the stairwell door stood half open. The space beyond was nothing but a yawning darkness. "Hello," I called, my voice thin. No answer. But the sound didn't stop. It continued, steady, one heel after another, striking the floor like a metronome. Click, clack, click, clack. Except, I realized something strange. The rhythm never changed, not faster, not slower. It wasn't natural walking. It was too precise, too deliberate, as if the sound itself existed without a body to make it. My skin prickled. I turned and hurried toward the main exit, my sneakers squeaking faintly against the tiles. And then, the sound shifted. It wasn't coming from the stairwell anymore. It was coming from behind me. Click, clack, click, clack. I didn't dare look back. My heart pounded so violently it hurt. I broke into a run, racing down the corridor, down the stairs and out through the main door into the cool night air. Only when I was outside did I turn back. The building loomed against the sky, windows like blank eyes. No sound followed me. No figure appeared. But I swear, in that moment, I caught a glimpse of something in the glass window on the second floor. The silhouette of a woman standing perfectly still, as though watching me leave. I told no one. Who would believe me? "Hey, I think there's a ghost in high heels haunting our school." They'd laugh, call me paranoid. But the following Thursday, it happened again. Same time, same place, same sound. Click, clack, click, clack. This time, I wasn't alone. Two club members, Yuki and Haruna, had stayed late helping me reorganize books. As we left the library, the sound began once more. Yuki stopped mid-sentence. "Do you hear that?" Haruna frowned. "Sounds like heels?" I froze. My worst fear confirmed. I wasn't imagining it. The sound echoed from above us, drifting down the stairwell, methodical and calm. We exchanged nervous glances. "Maybe a teacher," Yuki said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Let's go." But Haruna tilted her head, squinting at the stairwell. "Wait. Listen carefully. Doesn't it sound wrong? Like it's repeating?" And she was right. The pattern was exactly the same as last week. The same distance, same rhythm. A sound like a recording, stuck on loop. We didn't wait to find out more. The three of us bolted out of the building together. Outside, Yuki exhaled shakily. Okay, that was creepy, but there has to be an explanation. Like what? Haruna snapped. There's no one up there? No one wears heels in school. They argued, but I stayed silent, because deep down I already knew the truth. It wasn't alive. I started researching. The next day in the school library, I dug through old records, newspapers, even yearbooks. Most of it was dusty junk, but eventually I found something. In 1977, an English teacher named Ms. Kurose had died in the school. According to the article, she fell from the third-floor balcony late at night. Officially, it was ruled an accident, but rumors hinted at something darker. Students had claimed they heard her arguing with another teacher that evening. Others said she was planning to quit, but someone threatened her. There were whispers of an affair, of jealousy, of betrayal. What caught my attention, though, was a single line from a student witness quoted in the paper. I remember hearing her walking down the hall in her heels late at night. Then the sound stopped, and she was gone. My blood ran cold. The same sound, the same description. It was her. It had to be her. Word spread quickly through the club after Yuki and Haruna told others. Soon everyone knew about the heel ghost. Some laughed it off. Others were terrified. But one night, a group of boys from Class 3C decided to test it. They dared each other to stay late in the building, hide, and wait for the sound. I begged them not to. You don't understand, I said. It's dangerous. She's not just a sound, she's real. She's here. They laughed in my face. What, you think a ghost in heels is going to kill us? That Friday, they stayed behind. The next morning, the whole school buzzed with chaos. The three boys were found unconscious in the old stairwell. No injuries, no signs of a struggle, just unconscious. They were taken to the hospital, but when they woke up, all three refused to speak about what happened. The only thing one of them whispered, pale and shaking, was, "She was standing right behind us. We heard the heels. Then we saw her shadow. And then, nothing." After that, no one dared joke anymore. I should have stopped staying late. I should have avoided the building at night altogether. But one evening, after a long meeting, I found myself alone again. As I packed my bag, my hands trembled. Every creak of the floorboards made me flinch. When I finally switched off the lights and stepped into the hall, I already knew what was coming. Click, clack, click, clack. Closer this time, much closer. I turned my head slowly toward the stairwell, and I saw her, not a shadow, not a reflection, but her. A woman in a faded gray dress, her face pale and blurred as if veiled by smoke. She stood at the top of the stairs, her posture stiff, her hands hanging at her sides, her head tilted unnaturally, as though her neck were broken. But what struck me most were her feet, black high heels, shiny, polished, impossibly loud with every step she took forward. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. She only walked. Click, clack, click, clack. And with each sound, she descended one stair, slow and steady, her eyes never leaving mine. I couldn't move. My legs locked, my throat closed. When she reached the bottom step, she stopped. Silence. Then she tilted her head further, an unnatural crack echoing in the air. And in a voice like broken glass, she whispered, "Why did you leave me here?" The lights flickered violently. The air grew icy. My vision blurred. And then, everything went black. I woke in the nurse's office hours later. They told me I'd collapsed in the hall. No one else saw her. No one else heard the sound. But I knew she was real, and I knew what she wanted. She wasn't just haunting the school. She was trapped in it. The sound of her heels wasn't a warning. It was a memory. Her final walk before death, repeating forever. And anyone who stayed behind long enough would eventually join her. I should have stayed away, but I couldn't. I needed answers. So I returned one final night, armed with nothing but a flashlight and my beating heart. The halls were colder than usual. My breath fogged in the air. The sound started almost immediately. Click, clack, click, clack. I forced myself to follow it this time, up the stairs to the third floor. And there she was, standing by the balcony where she had died. The wind howled through broken windows. Her figure swayed gently, her dress fluttering. I raised my voice, though it cracked. "Miss Kuros, what do you want?" She turned slowly, her blurred face sharpening for the first time. Her eyes were hollow pits of black. She stepped forward, heels striking the floor. Click, clack. "I want someone to walk with me." Before I could move, she lunged. The last thing I remember was the deafening sound of heels all around me, echoing endlessly. They found me on the balcony the next morning, unconscious but alive. No one believed my story. Teachers told me it was stress, exhaustion. My friends begged me to stop staying late. But even now, weeks later, I can still hear it sometimes. In the silence of my room, when everything is still, the sound follows me. Click, clack, click, clack. Closer, always closer. And I know one day when I least expect it, she'll be standing right behind me again. I was 16 when my parents enrolled me at Graven High School. The school looked like every other in the city, gray brick, iron gates, peeling paint, but something about it felt off. The building was shaped like a U, with a neglected courtyard in the center. One wing of the school looked darker than the rest, its windows covered with wooden boards, like an abandoned house glued to the side of a normal school. On my first day, my homeroom teacher, Mr. Adler, gave me the standard tour. "This is the East Wing. The library is here, gym down the hall, but you don't need to bother with the North Wing. It's sealed off." "Why?" I asked. His eyes flickered. "Renovations. Unsafe. Don't go there." But I noticed how he said it quickly, like he'd practiced the excuse. By lunch, the whispers had already reached me. "You're new, right?" A girl with dyed red hair slid onto the bench next to me. "I'm Maya. Has anyone told you about the North Wing yet?" I shrugged. "Just that it's closed," she smirked. "They always say that. But the real reason is the forgotten class." "The what?" She leaned close. "Years ago, there was a classroom, room 3N. 30 students went missing in the middle of the day. Teachers, police, even parents searched everywhere. They never found a single body, just desks and notebooks left behind. The wing's been sealed ever since." I laughed nervously, but Maya didn't. Her face was deadly serious. "Some nights, if you press your ear to the boards, you can still hear them. The students, whispering for help." Before I could reply, the lunch bell rang, but the story sat in my chest like a stone. A week later, a group of seniors dared me and Maya to sneak into the North Wing after school. "Prove it's just a myth," one boy sneered, "unless you're scared." I should have walked away, but Maya grinned. "Let's do it." That night, when the halls were empty, we pried open a loose board near the janitor's closet. Behind it, a narrow gap led into the forbidden wing. Dust choked the air as we crawled through. The moment my foot touched the other side, the temperature dropped. It felt like stepping into a freezer. Our flashlights revealed lockers covered in rust, water stains crawling down the walls, and old posters curling from age. It was like the place had been frozen in time. And then we found the door. Room 3N. The faded number hung above it like a curse. The door creaked open to reveal a perfectly preserved classroom. Desks in neat rows, chalk still on the board, papers scattered as though abandoned mid-lesson. But the air was wrong. Heavy, pressing. Maya whispered, "It's like they just vanished." I walked between the desks, my flashlight shaking. That's when I noticed the notebooks. Each one still open, pens resting beside them. The words written on the pages weren't lessons. They were frantic scribbles. "Please, help us. We can't leave. The bell won't ring." My chest tightened. "Maya, this isn't a joke." She nodded, pale. "We should go." But before we reached the door, it slammed shut. The sound hit us like thunder. Drrring, the classroom bell. But it wasn't the normal bell. It was deeper, distorted, dragging on like a scream. The lights flickered. Desks scraped against the floor on their own, circling us like predators. And then we heard them, whispers, dozens of voices speaking at once, desperate, overlapping. Stay with us. Class isn't over. We're still here. Maya grabbed my arm. Aaron, we need to run. The windows were bricked over. The door wouldn't budge. And behind us, the chalkboard began to write itself. White letters scraped across the surface. Attendance required. One by one, the desks began to fill. Not with people, at least not fully. Shadows took shape, blurry outlines of students hunched over their notebooks, their heads lifted in unison, and though they had no faces, I knew they were looking at us. Maya screamed. The shadows stood, moving stiffly like marionettes. Their mouths opened, and the whispers grew louder. Join us. Sit down. Stay forever. The walls stretched higher, the ceiling melting into darkness. The room was no longer part of the school. It was something else, somewhere else, and we were trapped inside it. In blind panic, I grabbed a chair and hurled it at the chalkboard. The moment it struck, the shadow shrieked, a sound so sharp it felt like knives in my ears. Cracks spidered across the board. Light bled through. Go! I shouted. Maya and I threw ourselves at it, breaking through the chalkboard into blinding white. For a moment, it felt like falling through water. Then, we were in the hallway. The door to room 3N stood wide open behind us, but inside was only darkness. Maya slammed it shut. We swore never to tell anyone what happened. Who would believe us? But from that night on, things changed. I started hearing the bell during class, even when no one else did. Maya confessed she saw faces in the windows of the sealed wing, pale and hollow-eyed. And sometimes when I passed the janitor's closet, I heard it, the whispers. Attendance required. 1 month later, Maya stopped coming to school. Teachers said she'd moved, but I knew the truth. Her name appeared on the chalkboard of my dreams, written in perfect white chalk under the heading, Absent. Now it's only me. I feel them every day, closer and closer. Sometimes my desk shakes during lessons. Sometimes my notebook fills with words I didn't write. And sometimes when the bell rings, no one else reacts. It's ringing now, long, low, endless. I know what it means. Class is starting again, and this time, I won't leave.